Alright, if you want a quick and simple answer to this question I've posed in the title, from what I've seen so far in the trailers, I would say yeah, sure. But will you enjoy it to its utmost potential? I would say no. Kingdom Hearts is a series with an on-running story spanning over 8 or so games, with almost every game, even if extremely small, adding to the story or background to the story in some way. And of course, beginning in Kingdom Hearts 3, it is the conclusion of the first saga or arc, being the Xehanort saga. But with this game getting many people's attention, we have begun to see a debate come up on whether or not you really need to know the story to enjoy it. But you can see reviewers and people saying that the game as a whole should be able to stand apart from the rest of the series. Otherwise, it's fair to criticize it for not doing that. Yet, this viewpoint is somewhat short-sighted in my opinion. There are many games out there with a series that have sequels and can stand on their own just fine, such as The Witcher 3, which is probably the biggest example that I've come across. But there's one big distinct difference in that and in Kingdom Hearts, and that is The Witcher 3 as a whole has a self-contained arc, which is finding Ciri and facing the Wild Hunt. And there are things that exist in the world that you still will be lost with, but you wouldn't criticize the game for that because it is understood that there are previous games in the series that would have given an understanding and backstory to exactly what happened more in depth. But the main story is separate and self-contained. Kingdom Hearts' story is one big arc slowly building over time. Yes, there are smaller arcs in between, but as the games go on, the bigger picture becomes more whole, and once you get the final climax of the series, now being 3, is when all those plot threads formed throughout the game are going to come together. And if you haven't played or made an attempt to understand the previous parts of the story, then of course you will be lost. The story is made to be connected to the rest of the story, not separate. A great recent comparison to this is Avengers: Infinity War, a movie built up over 14 or so years similar to Kingdom Hearts, with a whole cinematic universe built up with a multitude of movies, setting, plot threads, characters, and some foreshadowing of the ultimate clash. So of course with this, we get a movie that is sort of different than most. It is built up from a foundation of previous movies. It relies on the previous to hold up the present, which it works pretty well in this movie. Yet, if you didn't see the previous movies, then you will be a little confused. You can enjoy it to an extent, but it wasn't built for those jumping in for the first time. Is it fair to criticize it for doing something different? It really depends on how you're looking at it. Kingdom Hearts, on one hand, can get away with this, I feel, and expand to more of an audience than a movie can, because with a video game, you get things outside of a narrative that can drive you, and this can go double for this series, because you get the pull for not just the gameplay, but the Disney worlds and, while yet to be seen, Final Fantasy aspects, which overall is a thing that seems to have caught many people's attention outside of the community. But when it comes to reviews for the game and them letting you know whether you should buy the game or not, it's good to understand that if the story is a driving force for you and you want to get all the enjoyment that you can out of the story, then going back and either playing or learning the story of the previous games will go a long way, because the story is pretty complicated. So jumping into the next game without previous knowledge and understanding fully what is happening won't be very hot. You'll be able to pick up some of the things, but the finer details and vague talk about light, heart, and dark in the 20 Soras and Xehanorts running around will surely raise some eyebrows. Or maybe you're into jumping into a series at the last second, being really confused, and going back for the mystery of learning what the hell is going on. But I think that is it for me and my soliloquy. Just know you're gonna be confused without the other games in the series, but you can still enjoy it overall. I mean, as long as it's actually a good game. But to get the full confusing potential out of the game and its story, it's good to know the story's previous entries. And also, I think if you're going to make a review of the game, it is good to get a full grasp on what is happening in the series, especially if the narrative is built the way it is. Because if you come out saying that you are confused and you haven't even attempted to understand the previous series story, then telling your audience is confusing can put people off. Or if you do this, at least let the audience know that you haven't played the previous entries, so there's not really any confusion about this. Oh, before I forget, if you do want to get into the series or just learn the story, they are selling an all-for-one combo that comes with every game in the series so far, and you should play the games the way they are presented in the compilation, not timeline-wise. But just in case, I'll put a list of the order here. There is also a phone game that is part of the timeline for Kingdom Hearts 3, but we aren't sure how much of importance it lends to the story for Kingdom Hearts 3, so I can't really give you much headway on that, but it's maybe good to learn some of that story, because some of it is going to appear in Kingdom Hearts 3. So I'll link to my recap video for that game down in the description, and then some cutscenes for the rest. But that is it. Let me know what you all think of this little predicament this series is in for newcomers. And my name is Arcane Keyblade, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.